Good evening. Tonight, we are following breaking developments in a major federal crime case involving law enforcement raids across multiple cities.
The vault door didn't just open. It exploded inward at 4:47 a.m., sending a shockwave through the basement that shattered every security camera within 50 feet. Behind that door? $73 million in cash. But the money wasn't the worst part. What they found stacked between those bills would expose a network so vast, so carefully hidden, that it had been operating in plain sight for over a decade right here, in the heart of America's playground. And the man behind it all? He was upstairs, watching it happen on a private monitor, sipping champagne. Stay with me. What you're about to hear will change how you see every casino, every hotel, every legitimate business in this country. Because if it happened here, where else is it happening right now? Welcome back to IC and FBI Files, the channel where we pull back the curtain on the operations the feds don't want you to forget. I'm your host, and today, we're diving into one of the most sophisticated takedowns in federal history. Before we get started, quick question for you. Have you ever walked into a casino and wondered who's really running the show? Drop a comment below. I read every single one, and your stories help shape what we investigate next. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. We drop a new case every week, and trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming. Alright. Let's rewind to a Tuesday night in June, when over 90 federal agents began assembling in an abandoned warehouse 12 miles outside the Strip. Their target wasn't a drug lab. It wasn't a trafficking ring. It was a 42-story casino resort that had just won Best Entertainment Venue of the Year. At exactly 4:32 a.m., the Las Vegas skyline glowed amber and violet, the last drunken tourists stumbling toward their hotel rooms. Inside the Mirage Crown Casino, the overnight shift was settling in. Blackjack dealers counted chips. Slot machines blinked in rhythmic patterns. Security guards made their rounds. None of them knew that beneath their feet, a federal assault team was preparing to breach a vault that had been declared impenetrable by its manufacturers. Here's what you need to understand: this wasn't a smash and grab. This was the culmination of a 4-year investigation involving wiretaps, undercover agents, and one terrified accountant who discovered something that made him physically ill. The assault. The breach team hit 3 entry points simultaneously. Point Alpha, main lobby. 8 agents in plainclothes walked through the revolving doors as if they owned the place, because legally, for the next 6 hours, they did. Point Bravo, service entrance. Tactical units in full gear stormed the loading dock, zip-tying security personnel before they could trigger the silent alarm. Point Charlie, rooftop access. A helicopter insertion, yes. You heard that right, dropped a 4-person team directly onto the penthouse level. Now, here's where it gets insane. The casino's head of security, a former Marine named Douglas Pritchard, had been on the federal payroll for 18 months. When the breach began, he was the one who disabled the backup power systems, plunging the security office into darkness for exactly 90 seconds. 90 seconds. That's all it took. By the time emergency lights kicked in, every exit was sealed. Every elevator was frozen. Every radio frequency was jammed. Question for you. Could you stay calm if you were working that shift? Imagine you're just doing your job, and suddenly, men in tactical gear are everywhere. Let me know in the comments how you'd react. The vault level. The descent to sublevel 3 was where things turned violent. Intel had confirmed the vault was guarded by a 3-man detail, but what Intel hadn't confirmed was that those guards were armed with military-grade automatic weapons, and they'd been told that if anyone breached the basement, it meant the cartel had come to collect. The firefight lasted 2 minutes and 40 seconds. Agents took cover behind concrete support pillars while the guards unloaded from behind a reinforced checkpoint. The sound was deafening, staccato bursts of gunfire echoing through the narrow corridor, muzzle flashes illuminating the darkness in violent strobes. Then, silence. Not because the guards surrendered. Because a flashbang grenade, rolled by a tactical specialist from the Philadelphia field office, had detonated directly at their feet. When the smoke cleared, all 3 guards were alive, disoriented, ears bleeding, but alive. Their weapons were kicked away. Zip ties went on. The corridor was secured. And there it was. The vault door. 8 feet tall. Titanium reinforced steel. A biometric lock that required both a retinal scan and a 16-digit code. That rotated every 72 hours. But here's the thing about impenetrable security, it only works if the person with the code stays loyal. At 4:47 a.m., a federal engineer punched in the sequence. That had been provided by the informant, a man whose name you'll never know, whose face you'll never see, but whose courage changed everything. The locks disengaged with a heavy clunk. The door swung open. And what they saw inside made even the most seasoned agents stop breathing. Inside the vault. Imagine walking into a room the size of a basketball court, and every wall is lined floor to ceiling with black duffel bags. The initial count came to $73 million. But money, stacks and stacks of bundled hundreds, wasn't what made this case federal priority number one. It was the ledgers. Handwritten. Meticulous. Page after page documenting transactions that never appeared on any tax form, any casino report, any official record. Names. Dates. Amounts. Routes. And next to each entry? A single letter code, S, J, or G. Sinaloa. Jalisco. Gulf Cartel. This wasn't just money laundering. This was a hub. Let me break this down for you, because this is where it gets truly disturbing. How it worked. Every week, couriers would arrive at the casino not as criminals, but as VIP guests. They'd check into suites, gamble for a few hours, lose strategically, then leave. The losses they incurred? That was dirty money entering the system. The casino would then report those losses as legitimate revenue, pay taxes on it, and wire the winnings to shell companies in the Cayman Islands, Hong Kong, and Cyprus. Clean money. Untraceable. Ready to be used anywhere in the world. But here's the part that made federal prosecutors' blood run cold. In a locked cabinet near the back of the vault, agents found encrypted phones, satellite communication devices, and photographs. Photographs of casino owner Marcus Trevino shaking hands with men whose faces were on FBI most wanted posters. One photo showed Trevino on a yacht in Cabo San Lucas, arm around the shoulder of a known Sinaloa enforcer. Another showed him at a private airstrip in Guadalajara, standing next to a Cessna that had been flagged in 3 separate DEA investigations. Here's my question for you, how does someone like this operate for over a decade without getting caught? What does that say about our systems? Drop your thoughts below, I'm genuinely curious what you think. The hidden room. But wait. There's more. Because behind a false wall in the vault, discovered only when an agent leaned against what he thought was solid concrete and felt it give slightly, was another room. A server room. Inside, 3 industrial-grade computer servers running 24 hours a day, processing transactions, routing communications, and storing encrypted data that would take federal analysts 6 months to fully decrypt. When they finally cracked it, they found records linking the casino to 14 other businesses across 7 states. Hotels, nightclubs, car dealerships, a chain of laundromats, yes, actual laundromats being used to wash money in the most literal sense. The scope was staggering. This wasn't a rogue casino owner. This was a criminal infrastructure, built carefully over years, designed to look completely legitimate on the surface. The penthouse. While agents were securing the vault, a separate team was ascending to the 42nd floor. Marcus Trevino's private residence occupied the entire top level, 10,000 square feet of marble floors, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the strip, and a personal art collection worth an estimated $40 million. When agents breached the double doors at 5:03 a.m., they expected to find Trevino asleep. Instead, they found him wide awake, standing at the window, still in his tuxedo from an event the night before. On the coffee table in front of him, an open bottle of Dom Perignon, 2 glasses, 1 full, 1 empty, and a tablet displaying a live feed from the vault level. He'd been watching the entire raid. Lead agent Sarah Mendoza, a 12-year veteran of the FBI's Financial Crimes Unit, approached with her weapon drawn. "Marcus Trevino, you're under arrest for." He raised a hand. "I know what I'm under arrest for." Agent Mendoza. He knew her name. That sent a chill through everyone in the room. He turned, smiled, and extended his wrists. "Shall we?" No panic. No pleading. No lawyer demands. Just eerie, unsettling calm. As they let him out through the service elevator, he said only one thing. You found one vault. Congratulations. But you have no idea how many buildings in this city have basements you've never seen. Let that sink in for a second. One vault. How many more are there? The investigation origins. This didn't start with a tip. It started with a pattern. 3 years earlier, an analyst at FinCEN, the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, noticed something odd. A cluster of Nevada businesses were receiving unusually large wire transfers, always within 48 hours of major cash deposits. The amounts varied, but the timing was consistent. Too consistent. That analyst flagged it. A task force was formed. Undercover agents were embedded in the casino's accounting department, posing as new hires. And then came the breakthrough. An accountant named David Ortega, who'd worked for Trevino for 6 years, walked into an FBI field office in Phoenix and said 5 words. I can't do this anymore. Ortega had discovered that the VIP clients he was processing weren't just high rollers. They were cartel operatives. And when he tried to quit, he was told politely but firmly that people who leave don't live long. So he made a choice. A terrifying, life-altering choice. He became an informant. For 18 months, Ortega wore a wire to work every single day. He photographed documents. He recorded conversations. He provided the vault access code. And when the raid happened, he was relocated under federal protection to a place he'll never be able to leave. Think about that sacrifice. He gave up his entire life to do the right thing. Could you do that? Seriously, put yourself in his shoes. Comment below. The expansion. Within 72 hours of Trevino's arrest, federal agents executed search warrants at 19 locations across Nevada, Arizona, California, and Texas. Properties were seized. Bank accounts were frozen. Vehicles were impounded. The total asset forfeiture exceeded $230 million. Among those arrested, the casino's director of operations, who coordinated courier schedules, a Nevada state gaming inspector who'd been accepting bribes for 8 years, 3 real estate developers who'd helped purchase properties with laundered funds, a private pilot who'd flown Trevino to cartel meetings disguised as business trips. Each arrest led to more names, more connections, more locations. The network had spread like roots beneath the surface, invisible until someone started digging. The courtroom. Marcus Trevino's first court appearance was 4 days after his arrest. The federal courthouse in Las Vegas was surrounded by media, protesters, and curiosity seekers. Inside, the courtroom was standing room only. Trevino entered in an orange jumpsuit, wrists and ankles shackled, flanked by U.S. Marshals. But even then, even dressed like an inmate, he carried himself like a CEO. The charges read aloud took 6 full minutes. Money laundering, 14 counts. Racketeering conspiracy. Wire fraud. Bank Secrecy Act violations. Conspiracy to distribute controlled substances. Obstruction of justice. His attorney requested bail. The judge denied it immediately, citing extreme flight risk and danger to witnesses. Trevino showed no reaction. Outside the courthouse, federal prosecutors held a press conference. Today's arrest represents a turning point, U.S. Attorney Rebecca Chow announced. For too long, criminal organizations have used legitimate businesses as shields. That era is over. But is it, though? That's the question that keeps me up at night. The closure. The Mirage Crown Casino remains closed. Its gaming license has been permanently revoked. The building stands empty, a 42-story monument to corruption. Local residents still drive past it, pointing it out to visitors. That's where it happened. But for the agents who worked the case, for the prosecutors who built it, for David Ortega who gave up everything, this was never about one building. It was about sending a message. No one is untouchable. No business is beyond scrutiny. No amount of wealth or power can shield you from justice. So here's what I want to know from you. Do you believe there are more operations like this happening right now? How many legitimate businesses in your city might be hiding something darker underneath? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you've ever worked in hospitality, security, or finance and seen something that didn't add up, tell your story below. You never know what might help expose the next one. If this case fascinated you, hit that like button. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it. And subscribe to IC and FBI Files, because we're just getting started. Next week, we're covering an undercover operation that infiltrated a trafficking ring operating out of truck stops across the Midwest. Until then, stay vigilant, stay informed, and never assume you know the full story just because the lights look bright. Remember, Las Vegas still glows at night. But now you know what hides in the shadows. I'll see you in the next one.